for today. Or actually, no, damn it, it's my fourth live stream for today because I technically did two in the morning, very early in the morning, and then I did one just recently, and then I'm doing another one now to finish up some of those statements, but especially a statement that I made on the second live stream this morning. And I was saying on there is that the video before this that I did earlier, I'm not sure if very many people will watch this, but I don't have a means to record a long form video right now, so I have to do a live to record anything at all. I want to keep the skill set and the momentum of original thoughts or attempting them. And sometimes there's some things that can occur to you while expressing yourself, and that's part of the skill set of being an extemporaneous speaker. Because I would listen to Osho. If you ever listen to Osho on YouTube, Osho is a Japanese word that means teacher, but the famous person Osho, his name was Rajneesh, and he's from India, and he's in the United States, and he had some communes in the United States. Erudite people would listen to him, but when you listen to him, it sounds like sheer wisdom talking. You hear all the deepest insights about life, but what he would say is that he actually he's not really daunted by or impressed by his own statements, and he said that they just simply occur to him. So that actually the flowingness of extempore, like some people may land on this channel and say that you're babbling like that, and to each their own. But that's actually when it's non-scripted. If I was babbling like this and scripted, that would be bad enough. But when it's non-scripted, that's actually like a little bit of like what you call flow state. But the technical word for that is extemporaneous. And it's actually a channel of mind, because when you're speaking, some ideas can occur to you. Like if you imagine like with someone like a slick mouth or something like that, they couldn't think of some of those thoughts normally until they got heated like that. Like, damn, where does that thought come from? Like, damn, you're capable of thinking like that. But if someone actually if somebody get the better of you with like a tongue lashing, that might sound like some pushover stuff, like a tongue lashing. But trust me, words, sticks and stones may hurt, but words actually break that shit that it can barely be fixed. Like when you break some shit with words. So like someone might know what I mean. Like when if someone is if someone's there verbally, normally like talk is cheap, except for when it's actually some real shit somebody said like that. But it might not occur to someone until they're actually in the act of talking. And so that's actually a channel. But some things can occur to you when you're talking as it can't when you're not talking. But some things also can be hard to reach when you're talking, as they're not hard to reach when you're not talking. So like an example of that is like sometimes if you try to think about like music lyrics or something like that, or even people's names, it can be hard to think of when you're actually talking. Because you're using a completely different part of your mind. So too when you're walking, so too when you're sitting, so too when you're doing anything that you do at all, it involves your entire existence, and different things are possible from different ways of doing things. So like right now I'm walking up a hill. Whatever occurs to me and the way I come across and land an idea and then think of something else based on that, it's going to be different me walking up the hill than doing anything else. But it's still a skill set to do extemporaneous dialogue, and it's a form of creativity and insight and learning, even as much as teaching, because the better way to learn something is to teach something, even while yet teaching something that is occurring to you, that's spontaneous. And that's like a coveted thing, because that some people are respected as being insightful and channeling things, and seldom and rare. And some people are punished for that, even as they're respected for being able to do it convincingly. So I'm not trying to associate with things like prophecy. I think a lot of things get the word like for forecasting, or what's the word I'm looking for? Not forecasting. That word is very heavy, and it could change the tenor of this video. But there's a word for not divining. You have divination. There's different techniques for things that can baffle, that can provide insight into the future. For example, if you see a bunch of crows congregating, the scientific word for that is an unkindness. A bunch of that's a flock of crows is called an unkindness. But sometimes you'll see an inordinate vast swath of crows congregated on the ground somewhere. They say that corresponds to weather trends. So some of the behavior of birds, it corresponds to weather trends, but also sometimes social trends too. Like, so I remember when Bernie Sanders was running for office, I think a dove actually landed on the podium. That's significant that a bird would do that, even if you don't read into that allegory or like religious connotation. Just the mere fact that a bird would come in front of him like that, speaking like that close to him like that. That bird was aware. That bird wouldn't do that under normal circumstances. I seen, like, I had this before that happened. I had this these like I worked as a clerk at a pharmacy, and this person who was like a pharmacist, he was talking about a baseball game where like a bird was was flying in front of a pitch at a baseball game, and that pitch exactly nailed the bird, and that person couldn't help but smirk when he recounted that. But that a bird would come that close to the podium, that bird allowed itself to come closer to him than a bird would normally do so. And so that bird was seeing that place differently than a person would see it, but also appreciating that there's something different about the energy Bernie Sanders was coming with and the meaning of that venue there that a bird could respond to. So I'm just saying it's kind of unique that a bird did that. Hey Melissa, it's second time back from Melissa. What up, Melissa? What up, Melissa? How you doing, Melissa? I'm like the people that act like they know you, but they don't know you. But thanks for rocking with me, man, because you got how's my day is great, man. I just found out some information about some opportunities, and I'm rocking live. I'm rocking with you guys, and so I'm really doing great with it. I just walked up a big old hill, and I ain't bad at eye about it. I don't even sound out of breath after that big old hill like that. We're just getting going. Where's the next one, Coach? It is the next one up there if you want it, but I'm about to chill out on that. But I'm doing pretty good. Thanks for asking. But I was just saying that so I want to talk about what I was talking about last night. Is that I was thinking a little bit about like like cowboy culture. Like the video before this, I was talking a little bit about like fighting and stuff like that. Not to glorify that, but just like as a like something to learn. But I was thinking that like if you think about like, so I don't know if anyone on here has ever met a real cowboy. Have you ever met a real cowboy? I think there is a such thing as a real cowboy. Like I was a school bus driver, and I got trained. There was like I'd go to this one school. It wasn't my route, but I was with another driver, and there's a guy there that he actually wore a cowboy hat. Like he was an administrator at the schools, and he wore a cowboy hat like that. And it's like it looked a little bit like pretentious, like somebody actually wearing a cowboy hat in real life like that. But then a couple weeks or a month later, I was new to that base, and he worked with the district. I had to get trained by the district, and he trained us, right? The way you know he's a cowboy is he took a picture of me, right? But that was like one of the pictures I actually liked that picture he took of me, because he was saying reckless stuff. He wasn't disrespectful, but he had so much energy. Like you would have thought that he was actually like, you hear like crazy stuff about like people that are like they live longer than they should live, and they're healthier than they should live, and they might not be ethical about it. But he was way too vibrant and healthy to be his age, right? And he was there with his comrade, his colleague, who was his same age. And like normally it's not cool to mock people that have a disability, because I've worked in like I've worked in healthcare, and I've had family members that are chronically ill. But he was like kind of mocking his colleague, and it was like some badass shit, because he made his colleague look old and feeble, and he's running circles around his ass and damn near us too. But the way you would know you had a real cowboy is that at that time in my life, like a few years back, like maybe 4 or 5 years ago, I didn't smile as much as I did now, because I've had some breakthroughs in my life to be like more of myself, especially since I got my hands back on ganja, and because you used to have to risk your left anything just to get your hands on some ganja. But when you see that, it's like a picture he took of me, right? He brought out a real natural smile out of me. Like I had not actually seen myself smile like that. I had not seen myself look like that in a picture before. And I don't normally be posing for pictures, but I couldn't pose like that if I wanted to. He actually brought out the real person like that. He brought out a real smile out of someone. That's how you know you got like a real cowboy like that, that still enjoyed life for the sake of it. So I think there had actually been real cowboys before, and like the realest shit, it doesn't actually go away. It just goes underground a little bit. But I feel like now a lot of people are actually like, so like this thing about chivalry, right? So like back in the day, like in like Japan, like that thing about samurais, like samurai sound cute now, but if you actually had like there's one picture online where there's like this one random thing where it showed a samurai is like this, and it's like, and it ran up like that. If you can imagine what that looked like, a samurai running up on you like that, man, that's some shit you don't want to see in this life, man. And it's probably the last thing you would see in this life. But there had been really actual samurais getting it in over honor, like dueling to the death like that. But that's not unique to samurai culture. That you also had that like in Europe, you had the knights, and they would throw a gauntlet. Like if a knight drops some shit in front of you, that's a bad look, man, because you're gonna have that's hella disrespectful for a knight to do that. to another person, and it affronts that person's honor, and that person's obliged to like a fight to the death. But then like in cowboy culture, you had that dueling go on like that, and a lot of that stuff, it's about respect, it's about etiquette, it's also about chivalry, and it's also about like masculinity and viability as a male, in like in society, your viability as a male, and for all the cool things that has to do with male, it has to do with when honor's at play. And so that thing, it never went away. Like that thing about samurais fighting, knights throwing the gauntlet, cowboys pistol dueling. But then now I think that some of that, it has to do with actual like contemporary culture in America, because like I remember the late Kevin Samuels. He's like, he talked a lot of fly, so he's like, hey man, look man, I don't think that grown ass man have business rocking gym like sneakers for the court and stuff like that. But and if you're not playing basketball, but if you were gonna do it, I had some ideas about how you could make that shit look fly and pop like that, right? But I'm not the one to be I'm not the one to be wearing sneakers if I'm not on basketball time. That's what Kevin Samuels said. So he was brave enough to say that he stood up to that stuff, for better or worse. Because for anything cool, you need to have like a counter narrative, and like something to make something. There's two sides to anything, right? But he said, but also your Jordan shoe, some of your sneakers, they're a lot like a cowboy boot. Like they actually remind you of a cowboy boot. Is that it doesn't have an actual utility that's the same as when it was popularized, or for who would be using it, but it has so much gusto and bravado and badassedness, is that it's kind of like a little bit of like a prop, like a cowboy boot for someone that's not a cowboy, if you're not a hooper like that. But then the Jordans, they're also reminiscent of like street lifestyles. Is that like some of that street stuff, it go over, it look because like everybody had, I want to talk about this too, I think everybody has had a fantasy about doing some form of illegal, not illegal, but like some form of fast money. Most people have had a fantasy about fast money, and or doing a regular job that's very lucrative, but some of the ethics of it aren't all the way squared away, similar to fast money. If you think about it, most people, like, you wanted to be a lawyer or an accountant, like some kind of killer ass hot shot shit, but the ethics of it aren't all the way worked out. Similar to fast money, because if you think about fast money, right? So like you have like different ways you have different versions of stuff, right? So you have like the street lifestyle, you have like moving things on the street, right? And a lot of that, you can say that it's not necessarily about hurting people for the sake of it, and you can do some fly shit like that. It's the sex, money, drugs, rock and roll. The shit is dangerous, high risk, high reward, but it's not just out to just simply like just do shit, heinous shit for the hell of it. But it can be more heinous than heinous, right? But the ethics of it aren't all the way squared away. But I think everyone has had that aesthetic about like fast money, or just money that's not entirely ethical, but it's still kind of sexy and shit. And so I think all adults have that, even people that are law abiding and not. But some of the sneakers like that, they go with that lifestyle of like the fast money getting type stuff, where it's like it's not all the way completely unethical or illegal or violent for its own sake, but it's not far away from that. And it's not different than that, but it's just that sexy, dangerous shit, high risk, high reward, and people like that aesthetic like that. But so other than like maybe that lifestyle of like really being a real street kind of lifestyle, and then needing to have needing to have the reputation and the respect and some of the swag that goes with that to be viable, or being like an actual athlete, some of the sneakers are like similar to a cowboy boot, Kevin Samuels, he called that out like that, and he was a style man, so he probably had some reasoning. But I still like all that fly stuff. But all I'm saying is that reminds me that I think a lot of times now, like if you look at it, right, a lot of stuff is so violent, right? Like a lot of the music is so violent, right? But the thing is that I think that people, especially men are always gonna have to be like in order for, like, it's funny, right? So like say you listen to like a rap video, right? In that rap video, they're smoking that whole time, right? So they're blowing trees, right? But if you look at it, blowing trees makes you less more formidable, right? So they're kicking back, they're near about throwing their feet up with a damn near cigar, but then also they're ready for that action at the same time. The aesthetic is that they're cool to do shit that makes you less physically formidable, but also if it had been a problem, then they can get down to that shit, especially as the weapons go, right? And that's the thing, is that it's like, I'm saying that it's a little bit ambivalent to have the aesthetic about like a near about somewhat degenerate lifestyle to celebrate that. And I don't mean to be egregious like that. When I knew people that weren't, that were cut or from like similar places where that stuff would happen a lot. But even like certain shit, they would call that shit like low life shit. Like if you're just like, if you're out, like if you're not about business, and you're just simply about getting faded, but you're not about business at all, that's some low life shit. And even some people, it's funny how like some people that are really street like that, I bet they actually don't partake of a lot of shit. Like I listened to another YouTuber named Tony Gaskins, and he's came out that he had a former lifestyle, a street lifestyle, not very far away from like womenizing, pandering, and like moving different things. He said that in his very YouTube content, but he also said that he didn't partake of that stuff back then, and he doesn't even know what it's like to partake of that stuff. But a lot of times, like the aesthetic, I'm just saying that for a deeper message, that I'm not judging anything or criticizing or calling out any one or thing, but I'm just saying that there's a little bit ambivalence about having a almost like a degenerate lifestyle, but then also presenting as being very physically formidable and virile and masculine, and to be good to go with things like a gunfight, no less. A real gunfight, I imagine, would be one of the most taxing things you can imagine, because there's no slowing down, there's no stopping, there's no relenting, there's no mercy. And a lot, if you think about it, a lot of rounds likely wouldn't find their mark. So a gun is not going to necessarily save you from a gunfight, but being aware, present, alert, and physically formidable is a person's best shot. But then in a lot of them videos, a lot of things online are about doing things that are unhealthy, but also presenting as being very physically formidable. So what I'm saying is that I think that men in general, human males, they are bound by human societies, but especially males, are bound by honor, respect, etiquette, class, esteem in the eyes of men and women and children. And all that has to be clicking in order to be a viable member of a community. And there's no real life outside of a community. That's the same whether it's Japan, whether it's Europe, whether it's the Wild West, whether it's the current Midwest, anywhere a person would be, we're still bound by honor, ethics, duty, and potentially could have to get down to some shit. Potentially, we can, just the aesthetic of that is that to be viable as a man, one of the most manly things a person can do is just simply to be fit. Because according to Arthur Avalon, when a human being stands, for a human being to stand is to communicate power. So if you were say you were sitting pretzel style on the ground, right? You're having some cool experience with someone, right? A word to the wise, just because people sit pretzel style don't mean they're all cool and shit, and that they're really actually all kumbaya. Because if you think, before we had chairs and shit, we still had people doing wicked shit, and they likely would have been sitting pretzel style. So just because you run up on some people sitting ass to the ground, pretzel style, squatting somewhere, it don't mean that they're all the way good to go, or they're all the way righteous just because they would sit like that. But so too, if someone were sitting like that, and then someone just come walk up to them and just stand there next to them, not necessarily stand over them, but just stand there. The fact that they're prone, I'm not sure if you call that prone. There's prostrate, prostrate and prone. So some people say dom and sub. The better way to say dom and sub is prostrate and prone. That's the medical way. But when you're sitting pretzel style like that, you're somewhat prostrate. That's like a prostrating posture. You're not actually standing in your full strength to be pretzel style. You're somewhat conceding leverage and the communication and the positioning of strength to be sitting pretzel style on the ground. So that's prostrating, actually sit pretzel style. But then if someone's standing, they're prone to action, they're prone to go, they're prone to run, they're prone to get also prostrate, they're prone to do anything. They actually have a little bit more of viability and maneuverability and agency at standing. So from that standpoint, for a human being to stand at all, or to have standing, that communicates power. And a human being, according to Arthur Avalon, is a vast magazine of power. Your body has power untold, largely even actually unchecked, because there's nothing to prevent you from conserving and hoarding the standpoint to be yet more powerful and viable, as you would do things that are in your best interest and that are calibrated and appropriate for your best interest in your best life. So your real standing, your real demeanor and bearing as a man, that too as a woman, I think as a human, as a mankind, in your strongest light, is to be healthy. I don't think that a woman has more, according to Jason Black, is that women are not really entirely viable without the support of men. Neither are men really viable without the support of women. An example of that is like Hillary Clinton is that Hillary Clinton was very influential politically when she was running, but it's appreciated that she didn't have the overwhelming and convincing support of men by and large, generally speaking, and that may have cost her the victory like that. But so too is that when a man doesn't have the support of women, whether that man, what any orientation that a male would be, if he doesn't actually have women that like say a musical art, like I had the homie Melissa tapped in here, right? Homie Melissa tapped in. The other video, she said she subscribed, and then she commented right here. Someone might pop in here and say, "Oh damn, he got some honeys checking him out, man. What's this fool got to say?" That's different than if like than if Mel popped in here, or like a man popped in here. But I rock with anyone who rock with me, and I appreciate all support. But I'm just saying is that you get a certain look when women rock with you as a man, and also when men rock with you as a woman. But the best look for anyone is just simply to be healthy and standing on 10 toes. Man or woman, you look better getting in and out the gym, man or woman. Any station in life, any degree of fitness, any degree of body weight, structure, able-bodiedness, or lack thereof, you look better around a gym. Anyone would. But so some of the things about aesthetics now is that people. So you need to present as physically coordinated, formidable, brave, courageous, strong, just to have a basic viable life as a human being and get the traction and cooperation you need. But I think a lot of people, they probably did it times past. I imagine like back in the time of like knights and even samurai and even Wild West, you would have people that try to bypass things. And so I'm saying is that all of us, we need to be strong and seem sturdy. But a lot of people want to settle things with a gun. Like, so like a lot, like say people, say somebody about to get in a fight, right? Like the way, I heard there's a real fighter. My favorite fighter is Corinne Silva. She's a Brazilian woman. I don't think she speaks very much English, but she was in about. I like how earnest she is about her craft, and how much she's dedicated to being a champion, and also how her sportsmanship in winning. Because she was in a bout with another female, and she really damaged that woman's leg. Like she was doing a leg lock, and something popped. Like, and she really had that lady down bad like that, the way she did that. But that hadn't been her intention. She was simply going for the W at any means, at any cost. If it meant injuring another person inadvertently, she probably would have done so again, because that's the stakes were. But she wasn't out trying to injure that person. And then when that person was like hopping off, and she was like, she really was concerned about her. She's like, yeah, this ain't gonna be easy, but she got to put in the work, because I want to see her. She wanted to see her back, and she understood what that process of rehab was gonna be about. That she just put her through, but she thought that it was worth it for that woman to keep trying, even as she was just handed a defeat, even as she was nearly maimed, nearly crippled, semi-crippled. She really had the spirit of supporting that person, encouraging that person, and understanding, just no kidding, what it means to get back, and that it's damn well worth getting back, even as you just were handed a loss, even as you were nearly crippled. So that's real champ talk like that she did, and I was won over when she did that. But she wasn't out like, yeah, man, when this shit go down, I'm not about to knock a girl out, or I'm about to pop her leg or something like that. Because that'd be the easy thing. The easy thing is just get the thing over like that. Don't actually go all the way through the championship rounds. Don't go through the work of it. Just go straight to the clever little jiu-jitsu maneuver that really got somebody down bad. Not that that's not part of the stakes and still cool as entertainment. But just go straight to the easy thing right there. Just settle right there. Once in a while, knock them out the hell out. Just knock them out, man. Just kill them or something like that. And it's not about killing. It's like a sporting match. Rather than talk that real champion talk, that real grit, the real Rocky Balboa talk, just go straight for the damn knockout like that. So I think that's a little bit, is that I think that we still have something of a cowboy. I got more I want to flesh out on it. But I think we have something of a cowboy culture, in that we have this thing about chivalry and like fighting over like honor and chivalry, the same way that the cowboys had, the same way that all men have always had it like that. But this proliferation of firearms is kind of like there's a scene in the movie Friday, one of the Friday series, and like his grandpa was like, hey man, when we were young we used to have problems too, man, but we settled it with these right here. He put his fists out, and because you live to fight another day like that, man, you get and you actually respect people more that you came to blows with. Because if you fought someone, you see what they're made of, you see what they feel, as it's not fun to feel, and you actually have a real respect. Like I was listening to Nate Diaz recently, and they're asking him what's his toughest fight. He's one of the people that I like in media personalities, just for the way he thinks and the way just for his congruence. And like he was on one of them old, like the Ultimate Fighter shows, and he was like, man, who fucked up with my shit? And the other dude's like, he's like, you did it? Man, fuck you, man, let's go right now. he stood up. I like his standing up for himself. I had a family when I was in New Mexico. There was a family that I grew up with, and they were actually really from a rough lifestyle. All generations of that family, they weren't very far away from that lifestyle. And one of the girls there, she liked me because she liked me and my best friend. And one time she was doing this thing where she was giving us our flowers, and she told me that she really liked me because she really liked my eyes. She said, "I really like your eyes." And then my other friend, she said, "I really like you because you stand up for yourself." I've mentioned him on this. That friend, he was very formidable. He was a wrestler, and one time we were playing baseball, and I bumped into him coming into home plate, and I was ready to go to blows because I got in my feelings about it, and he just simply put me in a lock, like a wrestling lock, because he didn't want to fight me, but he also didn't want to have to fight me. How much of a badass and real friend he was. But that girl, she told him, I like the way that you stand up for yourself. I really like that about you. And so that's like Nate Diaz, is that he's not afraid to stand up for himself, like on the grand stage going back. But they asked him recently, that Ultimate Fighting stuff was decades past, but they asked him recently, like,